very good morning, everyone. Dumelang Thabat. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you. It's very interesting being out of the KICC, I'll tell you that much. I feel like the air is cleaner, it's fresher. The energy is a lot more contagious. So thank you so much for having me here. I was completely reflecting on what we've prepared to speak on here, and I find it completely irrelevant to the energy that I'm feeling in the room. And so you will bear with me as I freestyle this keynote. You know, a few years ago, I served as the Minister of Investment, Trade and Industry in Botswana, and one of my favorite parts of my job was actually when I got to interact with what I termed as my true constituents, which were younger SME entrepreneurs that I felt needed more of my attention as the minister in comparison to the larger corporates that quite often got the government's attention due to their balance sheets and you know, the way that they contribute to trade. And so when I walked into this crowd, it reminded me of those times. And so we've had a whole week. For us, it's been a whole week at the KICC and in Nairobi. We started off with a climate and development conference with UNECA, and then we went on and did the Africa Climate Action Summit, and now we've started the Africa Climate Week. There's just so much that is happening at a policy level. And I felt that the conversation that was truly missing was the one that connects with the businesses in the space. So we've seen and heard of the very inspiring statements by African presidents and African leaders. And it's good to hear the change of tone from African leaders to, you know, the world needs to do more for us, or you know, we are victims to climate change, to changing tone to we can be leaders in this space, we are leaders in this space. Our indigenous knowledge can actually contribute to climate action around the world, not just in the continent, and putting forward solutions. So this has been a really good, positive change of tone by African leaders. We've talked about the trillions, and now there's an announcement that in total, the announcement's about $26 billion. The question is, to whom, when, and how? And this is something that I'm hoping that the crowd that's here will pressure and pester more for who is getting the $26 billion. What kind of innovations will benefit from the $26 billion, and the innovations that will actually lead to changing people's lives that have been looking on their TVs being told that there is an Africa Climate Action Summit that's going to lead to change and reduce their vulnerabilities to climate shocks. So if you haven't been at ACS, and you may have seen the statements, the real question for you, or I hope your interest would be, how do you plug into that policy and legislative ecosystem to make sure that there is connections from the highest level to the grassroots, and that the innovations, the businesses that you are running or financing are actually in touch with the challenges that we know the communities are facing today and that we know they will be facing tomorrow. But as we were talking about MDB reform, and we are asking the World Bank to change the way that they deal with the continent, how does that actually change the price of rice and maize meal and salt in our communities? And are your innovations relevant to changing the price of salt in our communities. And I think if innovations are still solely focused on, and no shade at all, but if they're still solely focused on social media and connecting people, we have enough of that. We need more, particularly in adaptation and resilience. There has not been enough done in adaptation and resilience in the continent. And quite disappointingly for me, even the declaration by the heads of states had 3 lines or 4 mentions on adaptation. And this is concerning because we know already that we are spending well over 30% of our government budgets on adaptation and resilience that we cannot afford. So why is it that when we are making a call on the international community to do something, we do not have a call that is specific on increasing financing to adaptation and resilience? So if there's a failure at the MDB level of financing adaptation and resilience, I certainly would hope that at PE, at VC level, there will be a focus on adaptation and resilience. Because a failure for us to look at adaptation and resilience is a complete failure of the economic and social dynamics in the continent. There will be no development, and we will continue to increase the economic disparities that exist now. We are building and seeing an acceleration of the green financial infrastructure, and you're a part of it. And if it continues to fester these economic disparities, then it basically means we are failing. We are failing the communities that are offering corporate citizenship to the businesses that we're running. I can spend quite a bit of time on this. Again, I'm freestyling, so it's a bit of a challenge. You can tell me I have 2 more minutes left. Thank you. Right, so as I conclude, we had an op-ed at the beginning of ACS on Project Syndicate. So myself and Dr. Mahmoud and Ruben Wambui. And in that op-ed, we have 5 points that we're mentioning. So it's the multilateral development reforms. And then there's one in particular on providing a catalytic fund for project origination, because this is something that we've seen as a problem. So in the last year, we started a project compendium for all regions in the world, but with a very specific focus on Africa. And what we have seen is that funding to project origination is very little. And it's disconnected to expansion financing. And it has actually also reduced between 2019 and 2022. So the recommendation is that through IFIs and MDBs and all the public financing that we know we can control from that level, we should work on credit enhancement tools to crowd in private sector financing to enable project origination, amongst others. So really specifically on that recommendation, my ask to you is to help us dissect that particular recommendation and expand on it. What does it really take to work on credit enhancement and create an ecosystem that will enable smaller businesses to thrive? But also taking it beyond the SME level to building unicorns in the continent. What would it take? What sort of recommendations should we push at the level and spaces that we work on? And then lastly, I would like to further offer the platform that we have as the champions to you and to your network as we head on to COP, because I think it would be very critical for us to ensure that we create more spaces for innovators. It is not the governments that are going to do it. It is the businesses, it's the innovators that are really going to bring the change that we want. We can talk about policy as much as we want. If the policy does not work for you, then we are also failing. And we need to be challenged to create sandboxes that enable for innovation to thrive. So please do use this platform that we have, allow us to champion the issues that will actually lead to change. Thank you very much and have a good morning.